Hello. Welcome to the camp, UTSA's own Center for Academic Media Production. Since the beginning of the semester, I've been enjoying T&L's presentations on new pedagogical techniques pointing to a bright future of education, particularly the ones on gamification and similar strategies. In several of these sessions, I've been asked directly by the presenter if I'm using or planning to use any of these techniques, gaming, simulation, virtual reality, in my own instruction. Well, I didn't quite know how to respond to those questions when they were asked, but maybe this short video can do it for me. Let me try to explain. On the one hand, no, I haven't developed any online games, simulations, or virtual reality stuff, at least not for UTSA, for over 5 years. But that's because I retired in 2012. Recently, though, it sounds like UTSA is becoming more and more interested in these bold, futuristic instructional methods. But I gotta say that for me, it's felt like back to the future. Because, on the other hand, yes, over my 25 years at UTSA, I developed hundreds of games, simulations, and virtual reality packages going as far back as the 1980s. In fact, in addition to creating them for my classes, they were a primary area of research in education for me. By the 2000s, I was writing articles, contributing to books, and giving presentations and keynotes all over the country on online interactive multimedia and how to use the games I'd developed for fine arts courses. So, you're probably asking, well, what were those products going so far back? Okay, of course, you have to understand that when I came to UTSA in the 80s, the internet was still in its infancy here, and there were no real computer labs anywhere on campus. To most professors, gaming implied video arcade consoles and maybe developing a few simple educational programs if their students had access to home computers. Me? I created both. In fact, here are a couple of my music department consoles from before we had a department computer lab. I built the instrument's fingering programs, terminology games, rhythmic reading games for those consoles back then. These games tallied a score for each player and congratulated the best scores at the end of the gameplay. But while they did help building student skills, and the kids really enjoyed them, they were basically just for fun and practice. But now, when the department was finally able to acquire a computer lab and attach the machines to the internet in the 90s, I set up a server under my office desk and began to produce more accessible and focused interactive multimedia simulations for our students. By the 2000s, I was producing some pretty sophisticated products for my two main tech classes, digital music production and multimedia production. Let me show you just a few examples from our digital music production class. Early on, I made practice simulations for identifying various popular microphones and their specific characteristics. Now, professional mics are expensive, so we didn't actually have a lot of them in the department. And the ones that we did have weren't numerous enough for all our students. But through these simulations, the kids all could manipulate any of them and learn about their characteristics in a virtual environment. Later, to take these simulations a bit further, I added graded games in which students assumed the role of an assistant audio engineer and were asked to help the on-site music producer select the best microphone for various randomly generated recording situations. Then, to take it all the way, I decided to create realistic recording situations where our students were presented with particular scenarios and asked not only to choose mics, but to set them up properly for a given situation. This was all done in an early type of 3D environment. At any time, A student could check his choice and setup against a small expert system knowledge base that I had developed from authoritative sources. This actual doing method proved to be a lot more effective for retention than simply assigning students to read a book. In the DMP class, I even built games that taught students how to use various audio mixers. This representation of a popular Mackie 3204 poses random mixing problems for students and then records their solutions not as multiple choice answers, but as a set of specific actions that, again, they had to actually do to get the grade. It was very realistic. This particular game featured over 700 dials, switches, faders, and plugs that could each report up to 128 different levels of action. In the mid-2000s, these games and many others were available to all our students from music.utsa.edu and multimedia.utsa.edu, and many were recording scores to my own self-made course management system. Now, this was before Blackboard had been introduced, or even before WebCT was prevalent on our campus, and I'm still rather partial to my version. Beginning in 2009, I decided to house all of these games and simulations in an on-campus media production facility that was virtually just steps from anywhere at UTSA. Students could explore the building and learn things in many different settings depending on the task. In fact, you're looking at me in one of the 3 media production studios of that facility right now. 2 studios for audio, and then this one for video. But beyond studios, the building also featured functional lecture halls, seminar rooms, acoustics labs, theaters, post-production suites, and even all the typical support facilities that any such building has. Incidentally, this building has been undergoing a complete renovation this year and should be ready for even more advanced, realistic exploration by spring 2018. So, I hope this quick video answers the question as to whether I'm incorporating all the new techniques into my classes, or I intend to do that in the future. Frankly, I'm still learning new techniques, and I'm looking forward to more presentations by our teaching and learning staff this year. Keep up the good work, and keep pointing to the future, wherever that might be.